Good morning, everyone. I'm Juraeva, and today we'll talk about films, especially documentaries. Do you like documentaries? So let's look at the pictures. What kinds of films do you see here? Right. Which one do you usually watch? And why? Great. Some of us like action films because they are exciting, but others like documentaries because they are educational. Excellent. So today we'll learn how to talk politely about films and how to describe them using rich adjectives. Let's start with grammar. Imagine you are in the cinema and you want to ask someone, where do I have to go? So this is direct question, but in English, when we want to sound more polite and we often use an indirect question. For example, could you tell me where I have to go? Notice something different? The word order changed, right? You are. In an indirect question, we don't say where is it, do I have to go? We say, where, can you tell me where I have to go? Let's practice together. So, what's the indirect question for what time does the film start? Could you tell me what time the film starts? Right, you are. Now remember, after could you tell me, we don't use do or does. Now, another kind of question we use a lot in conversations is a negative question. When we expect agreement or want to be polite. For example, don't you think this documentary is boring? This sounds softer than just saying documentary is boring. We use negative questions to sound less direct. And we use negative questions when we want to check or confirm information. We think we know the answer. We can also use negative questions to show surprise. Didn't she win an award? I think she won an award, so I'm checking the information and confirming my belief. Isn't it time to go? I think it's time to go, and I'm surprised that you are not ready yet. Did you see that documentary? It's a genuine question. I don't know the answer. But didn't you see that documentary? I expected the answer to be yes, and by using a negative question, I show my surprise that I know. I think you didn't. We can use negative questions to try persuade people that our idea is the best. Don't you think that we should take a taxi? I think we should take a taxi. Wouldn't you say that the film is more interesting? I think this film is more interesting. So here we have some practice exercises. So first, you need to choose correct options, A to C, to complete the questions. Let's do the first together. Do you know who A is a filmmaker, B the filmmaker is, C was the filmmaker? So the answer is B. Do you know who the filmmaker is? Now let's do one example from exercise 2 where you need to rewrite the direct questions as indirect questions. What time does it start? Can you tell me what time it starts? Now let's look at exercise 3 where you need to choose the correct alternatives to complete the interview. Could you tell us what you thought or do you think of the documentary I'm Belmaya? Correct answer is, could you tell us what you thought of the documentary I'm Belmaya? Now let's talk about intonation in indirect and negative questions. Listen to the questions. Does the speaker's voice start high or low?
Audio 4.02. 1.
Can I ask what you think of this documentary?
2. Could you tell me when the film starts? 3.
Do you know where I can see it?
4. Isn't that the documentary you were telling me about? 5.
Didn't you watch it?
Okay, so we have just listened to the questions. And does the speaker's voice start high or low? So the answer is low or falling, because even these are like questions grammatically, they sound more like statements in tone. The voice falls at the end and doesn't rise. That's because the real question is inside another clause and the main verb already signals its question. So we don't need rising tone again. So in negative questions, it can be both falling and rising. Usually falling or low tone when the speaker expects agreement or is surprised. Like, didn't you watch it? But sometimes rising or high tone if you're unsure or like genuinely asking for confirmation. Didn't you watch it? And you are not sure. Now, let's learn some adjectives we can use to describe films. So repeat after me, please. Extraordinary, dramatic, intelligent, enjoyable, disappointing, slow, powerful, shocking. Good. Let's check if you know their meanings. In exercise 5a, you need to match the adjectives involved with the best option A or B. Good. Let's check if you found right. So, extraordinary, very unusual. Dramatic, exciting. Intelligent, makes you think. Enjoyable, fun. Disappointing, worse than what you expected. Slow, without interest or excitement. Powerful, it made a strong impression. Shocking, surprising in a bad way. It's practice time. In exercise B, you need to choose best words to complete this sentence. For example, there was so much action at the end of a film, it was very intelligent, dramatic, or slow. The correct answer is dramatic. So, here you can see 10 more words related to films and filmmaking. Let's look through them with their definitions. Film, or shoot. To use a camera to record a story or event so it can be shown on a screen. Producing. Finding the money to make a film and arranging how it will be done. Filmmaker. Someone who makes films. Footage. Recorded film of an event. Script. The words that people will say in a film. Star. Someone who appears as a main character in a film. Directing, telling the actors or people in the film what they should do. Location, the place where the film is shot. Soundtrack, the music and sounds that go with the film. The film industry, all the people who are involved in the business of making and selling the films. So, now you have learned some new vocabulary about films and filmmaking. I hope you can use these new words in your conversations actively. So, it's time to give home assignment. So, okay, everyone, we learned how to ask questions politely and how to describe films more vividly. And for homework, please do exercise in workbook page 26 and 27. And you may practice adjectives to describe films in Quizlet.com. And you may practice indirect and negative questions in WordWorldNet. And of course, there is one very interesting quiz in Wayground.com. Great job, everyone. See you next time. Bye. Thank you for your attention.